Hello adventurers, and welcome back to my channel. Today we are in Cripple Creek, Colorado, and we are about to go on the Cripple Creek and Victor narrow gauge railway. I am so excited. The last time that I rode a train, it was absolutely amazing, and this one is quite a different experience. So let's get to it. So a little history before we get started on this wonderful train ride, which we have booked for 12:20. The Bull Hill station was actually built at Anaconda in 1894, and it was relocated in 1912 to Bull Hill, northeast of the Victor area. Then it was discontinued service in 1949 and moved to this location in the 60s. So needless to say, this place is very special because it has such a cool history. But the ride itself is about a 45-minute ride, and it takes you through some of the coolest areas that you cannot see unless you are on this train. Now there is a little map that I'm going to show you in a minute, but first, let's check out the train yard. Now before any ride, I definitely encourage you to check out the historic locomotives right here. It tells you a little bit more about the locomotives themselves that we're going to be riding on one of today. And it's really neat because it actually tells you when they were first used and when they were decommissioned and when they were brought here to Cripple Creek. Now if you haven't ever visited Cripple Creek before, really cool town. The historic downtown area is so neat. It reminds me of Tombstone to some extent in that it has the old feel of the western towns. However, whenever you go downtown, casinos, restaurants, cool places to go, neat places to shop, really neat historic district. And right next to this, the Cripple Creek Narrow Gauge Railroad, we actually have a historic museum right over here also. So we may check that out on another episode. I don't know. I'm just super excited that we made it here to Cripple Creek. On our adventure, we stopped off at the gift shop and I picked up a couple things that I'm going to show you before we take off on this ride. So let's go back to the van. We always pick up postcards, but I also found this really cute magnet. So Cripple Creek, Colorado, you're going to go right next to Creed and St. Elmo, I think. Okay, as you can see, it is 11:41, which means we still have a little bit of time before the train. So I think what we're going to do is just sit down and have a nice cold beverage and then get ready to go. While we're waiting on our train, we are looking at the map, and it starts off here at the ticket booth. We're going to be taking a 45-minute trip, which goes about 4 some odd miles. And it's going to stop off at old depots, also parlor houses. We're going to see mine shafts and some other really cool things along the way. So I'm really excited because this is going to be very different than the last trip that we went on because the cars are much different. Now, if you didn't see my train video where I actually went on the Branson Scenic Railway, go check that one out too, because we rode in coach cars that actually have an elevated space, and the top part of that had a 360 view. Now this is going to have a very different kind of car, and I'm really eager to show you whenever it gets a little bit closer to us departing. Super fun though, guys. Just know that this is a very unique experience and definitely worth the $17 for an adult. Okay, adventurers, it's almost time now. We're gonna be able to load up and I'm gonna try to get us a really, really good seat. So we're just waiting for the call and then on we go. Now today on our adventure we're going to be actually on engine number 2. Number 2 was actually built in Germany in 1936 by Herschel. So that's kind of a cool little backstory on the engine that we're taking, and it's really, really cool because in between rides, when people are still loading up, you can see them putting the coal in and getting it all ready to go for our trip. So that was super neat. Now I'm not sure how much I'm going to narrate to you all. I may just show you the amazing views. I don't know. So this is about to start off, so let's have a little fun.
Past the point of no return, baby, on the summer night. A shot of love and a spark of love to breathe. The stars align and the month times night burn like a dried out leaf. Are we leaving on the next train, baby? I do believe. Come on, let's ride this train. Come on, let's ride this train. Now I ain't missed a 9 to 5, I don't hear it in my song. I'm gonna pull my weight, don't get me wrong. Brand new start and a whole new part, they are big old shoes to fill. I'll be there on that platform, babe. You know I will. Come on, let's ride this train. Come on, let's ride this train. Now nothing is this rush of life. You'll never find its match. So you live to be a million. In the time of a single beat, we're leaving on the next train, babe. So take your seat. All right.
Guys, when we made it to this part of the train ride, oh my gosh, so many mines just right here in this little section. And we found out that there were actually 2 different cities that were down below and they were destroyed by fire. And then later on they also had flooding which destroyed this area and took out the train. So really cool and definitely worth it to come out here. You get to see such beautiful views and hear the stories of the original communities, which is so fun. But now we're backing up, believe it or not, and we're actually going to be going to another track so we can see what was called the World's Fair Mine. Now all of these mines have either been decommissioned and covered or are privately owned, so we're not going into a mine on this trip. That's a different destination here in Cripple Creek. They do have some you can explore, but we might do that on a different video. Now we took a stop and he showed us an actual working pit mine, and he said that it's the largest employer in this area with about 700 employees from the Victor and Cripple Creek area. Now another fun thing he just told us, that there are tunnels all in this area. In fact, he said at one point in time you could almost walk all the way to Victor from Cripple Creek because they had so many underground mining tunnels that connected to one another. That is insane. He also said that in this 20 some odd mile district, which is called the mining district, that there are more prospector holes, which means that they weren't necessarily ones that made it to be full-blown mines, than you could even imagine. Oh my gosh, we're coming upon something really cool.
What they do there is they drill down into the ground, they blast that rock out, and then they crush it in it's like the second largest crusher in the world, and then they mix it with lime, and then they pile it over here on the leach pad. All of that rock is piled on top of a double layer of heavy black plastic. That's called a liner. And then they put an irrigation system on top of that, and they run cyanide and water through that, and that trickles down through the gold ore, dissolves the gold.
Okay, so we just made a stop right before we get back to the depot, and he told us so many cool things. For example, he kind of gave us a lay of the land when it comes to downtown and what some of the cool things that have happened here actually have been. Cripple Creek was the first indoor rodeo. I never knew that, so that's kind of neat. They also, at one point in time, had 2 fires back to back that completely leveled the downtown. And as a result, they started a new ordinance saying that everything had to be built of brick. So that's why we see the downtown that we do currently. But he also gave us a couple other really neat tidbits, which I'm going to share with you when we get back to the depot. Do you see this cabin right here? This cabin actually was from the man who first struck it rich here in the Cripple Creek area in the 1890s. And that's all that remains. His story is actually kind of tragic. See, after striking it rich, he went and decided to have a little bit of fun and told somebody that he had found this gold claim that he had staked right here. And whenever he was delivering this message, they convinced him that it was a good idea to sell it. And they sold it for very, very little, like 500 bucks and a case of whiskey. He thought that that was a great deal. That mine was later changed in name and went on to produce millions and millions of dollars. And that was before current day, which means that if it were in current day, it would probably be billions. Okay guys, so let me share these last little tidbits with you that we learned on the tour. Amazing, amazing facts came from this ride right here. About 45 minutes packed full of views and spectacular information. Like for example, we learned that in the cemetery here in Cripple Creek, they actually have a very special person buried here. Her name is Dr. Susan. Dr. Susan was one of the first women to ever practice medicine, and she actually was the inspiration for Dr. Quinn Medicine Woman. Also, the actual gold exchange that was here in Cripple Creek was the largest one this side of the Mississippi for quite some time. So that was a cool fact too, because Cripple Creek actually was known for the mining districts and had some of the most lucrative mines in all of this section of the world, basically. Really cool to know that to this day they're still pulling things out. Still. And last but not least, I did want to share with you that Cripple Creek has many, many museums because of their cool history. So we may be checking out a couple of those on future episodes. If you've enjoyed coming along with me to see the Cripple Creek and Victor Narrow Gauge Railway today, please make sure that you hit a like, subscribe, and check out all of my future content because I'm traveling all over Colorado right now and just sharing so many cool places. Till next time guys, bye!